Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inside the Birds Postgame Live. Geoff Mosher with Adam Caplan, and of course, Eagles Hall of Fame left tackle Trey Thomas. Before we get started, happy birthday goes out to our man, Trey Thomas. Man, 25 has never looked so good, Trey.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you.
You feeling
48
good?
today. Yeah, I feel pretty good, man. Just hanging out,
Yeah.
We made it through. We got to win, Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, the Eagles, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't perfect, but the Eagles did reward your 48th birthday with a win. We'll get into that. They win 17-16. It is the first fourth quarter comeback of the year for Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense, third of his career. They needed every single second of that clock to be able to win this game. It's funny, and we'll start off with you as we get into the takeaways with it, Trey. The difference between being 9-1 or 8-2 on a 2-game losing streak, having had to fix a lot of issues, to me is great. I mean, I know that this was not a pretty game, but you go on the road when things are tough, you come out with a win. That is far more important than anything else that may have gone on.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely want to come out of this with a 9-1, because you could just see the air being taken out of the team a little bit towards the end. They really needed to figure out a way to get this win, because then, you come out of there with a loss, and then now, especially against the Colts, this kind of changes, your feel for your team within the locker room. And I think that, you start seeing guys starting to mope a little bit, instead of just keeping that positive energy that you need to finish out the season the way you want.
Yeah, Adam, we talked about all the influx of veterans and the changing dynamics of the team. Just feels like had they not been able to pull this one out, I mean, who knows where if a panic button gets pushed or someone starts to say something. It's just, again, there's a fine line there, and it's really significant for this team to have figured out a way to win that game.
Yeah, good teams find a way to win games. Look, they never led until there was a minute 20 left in the game. I give them credit. This is not the most well-played game by the Eagles on both sides of the football. The run defense on the first drive was horrendous. We were like, here we go again.
Right.
Then they settled down. Linval Joseph certainly was a factor. Sue had some explosive plays in terms of getting inside, pushing the offensive line. I thought that was pretty good. I'll tell you what, the are two big stories for me on the football team, particularly on offense.
Mm-hmm.
The absence of Dallas Goedert was massive. The run and pass game, there's no question, it was a major factor. We knew it coming in would be. It was just as big as the factor as you would think. And then the mental toughness of Jalen Hurts. Look, everything's going wrong. Kelsey throws it over his head, snaps it over his head.
Mm-hmm.
Sanders misses a block on Yannick Ngakoue. He gets sacked, strip sack. Could not get the passing game going at times. No intermediate passing game over the middle. No, absolutely none. But yet, somehow, some way, he actually outrushed Jonathan Taylor, folks. If you didn't know that, he did. Aren't even aware of that, he did. This was a Jalen Hurts game. He had to do some spectacular things, and he did it, and that's why they won, in addition to them finally shutting down Jonathan Taylor after a couple rough passes.
Yeah, so let me follow up with you on that. Do you feel like you come out of this game, Adam, thinking the Eagles have a lot of work to do, or do you feel like you come out of this game thinking this is kind of what you've seen from the Eagles at times, even when there's adversity, other than the Washington game, they figure out a way to win it?
Well, I would say they have a lot of work to do. I know it's hard without Goedert. I understand that. You've got some inexperienced tight ends, very, very little experience behind Goedert, obviously. Tyree Jackson's barely played. He had a penalty in the first quarter, which was bad. Jack Stoll's their inline tight end, so he's not going to really go out for passes. And Calcaterra is limited from a physical standpoint. They missed Goedert's physical play over the middle. Because that's the problem is it's Devontae Smith, who's not a well-built guy. He had a nice game. A.J. Brown did some good things. Unfortunately, had the fumble. Back-to-back series of a fumble you had. Jonathan Taylor's then, unfortunately, Browns. But I just thought also that the mental toughness of this team, it looked really bad to start the game. You and I did our show from Rivers Casino today. And the first series, we looked at each other. We're like, this is crazy how bad it is.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor ran for 7 yards a carry on the first series and scored. I was like, they're not even resistant to the run. And then adjustments. Oh, by the way, I didn't chart that, but I know for a fact they run blitz the hell out of Jonathan Taylor today, and that's probably had a lot to do with why they were to slow him down.
Trey, agree? A lot of work to do here, you think, or just gotta figure some things out?
Yeah, well, now that the book is out on how to beat the Eagles with the run game, you're going to have to figure some things out. And then, I mean, when you go back and you look at that one sack fumble that you put Miles out there on, I mean, you can't put a running back on the DN like that.
Yeah,
and just leave him out there.
Protection scheme.
Yeah, that was a terrible scheme right there. I mean, I think Jordan Mailata has to come back to help the running back on that. You can, because it was all zoned back to the one side, but Jordan has to circle back to help the running back. You put the running back on the defensive end, there you go. And I mean, Jalen held on to that ball for a very long time. And then here you go, a sack fumble. But, there are some things that need to continue to get cleaned up.
Mm-hmm.
Another bad snap. I know they say that it happens every now and then, but, it happens. And then just being able to continue to stop this run, because, I mean, teams are going to come out there and challenge us in that way.
Yeah, definitely. And look, I mean, my big picture takeaway would be that, both teams, I think, had 2 turnovers, if I'm not mistaken. No, the Eagles had 2. The Colts had 1, right? So the Eagles actually lost the turnover battle, and they did not acclimate very well to life without Dallas Goedert, as you would expect they wouldn't. It would be not going to happen in a finger snap. But you go on the road, you survive adversity, you win a game, and now you look how big, again, that win is, because if they lost, you got 2 losses. Now, 9-1, Giants lose today. They have 3 losses. Dallas has 3 losses. We know how many losses Washington has, 4 or 5. So the point is, even as bad as it may have looked at times, and I did feel like this is the first time this year that in the fourth quarter, I didn't have a beat on who I thought was going to win that game. In most games, we could tell, even if the Eagles weren't playing great, you could kind of never have the sense they were going to lose. Then they did lose the Washington game where you sensed that they were going to lose it. They were playing. This time, fourth quarter, I said this is anybody's ball game here. And for them to be able to force a field goal, critical field goal there, instead of giving up a touchdown because they played good defense, then get the ball back, drive down the field. Really nice design on the keeper. Touchdown for Hurts. To me, that goes a long way than just one win. And as you start to see the separation now in the NFC East, that's a big part of it to me.
Yeah, I would just add one thing. They're very lucky they played Matt Ryan today. He can't throw the football. My God, it is really hard to watch.
Yeah.
It's painful, actually. I'm in pain watching someone who likes to watch the quarterback position. He cannot drive the football at all. Ball loops. He can't drive it off his back foot. They're very lucky today that they faced an inferior quarterback. Guys, clearly at the end of the line here. We were talking about this in our pregame show that there are a lot of crosses. I lost count. I counted at least 8 that they tried over the middle of the Colts, because Ryan basically just can't drive the football. They had a couple. They had one to Pierce, but it was a struggle. They're very lucky that they faced a guy who can't really play much anymore, but they're going to face another quarterback, though, who could actually still throw it next week.
Yeah, that'll be Aaron Rodgers. It's really funny. I was actually having this thought after the game that if you're only going to ask Matt Ryan, if you're going to run and only ask him to make those kind of throws, listen, I'm not like a Nick Foles truther. He's got to be a starter, but he's got a better arm. I mean, I think in that kind of an offense, Nick Foles may actually give them a little bit better chance on third down to extend the chains and at least find guys like Pittman and Paris Campbell down the field, because he's just got a stronger arm. Am I crazy, Trey? Or you see Matt Ryan out there and he looks like the ball's 10 pounds in his hand.
Is Nick Foles with the Colts?
Nick Foles is the backup quarterback.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. But they put Sam Ehlinger 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago over him, I guess, because, they thought they were out of it, wanted to play. I don't know what went into that. Then Jeff Saturday came back, reinstated Matt Ryan. But the better quarterback for what they're doing really might be Nick Foles. I think
Nick Foles back. Oh, man, I don't know. I have no idea. I thought that Ryan, I get it where he struggles with driving the ball, but I felt like he left it all out there on the field and he put his team in position to gave them a chance to win. I mean, to me, he gave our defense everything they were looking for out there.
No doubt. Maybe he did make some good throws in critical moments. We'll talk about that as we get into the Eagles offense and the defense. I want to start with Eagles offense. First, we're going to take a quick break to hear from our friends at Rivers Casino and Sportsbook.
Game night for me is every night. at the place where I meet up with the guys, grab a cold one, and watch the big game on the big screen. So whether it's the money line, the pass line, or a parlay, I'm in it to win it. This is my city, and this is my place.
All right. Big thanks to Rivers Casino and Sportsbook, of course, the host of Inside the Birds pregame live and our watch party that Adam and I did there today. Give props to our Patreon subscriber, Eddie Garcia, showed up. He had won a chance to see the show in person, hung out with us at the watch party. It was great to meet him. And so we'll continue to do more with our Patreon subscribers, Inside the Birds, patreon.com/Inside the Birds, if you'd like to subscribe. I want to go. It's clear that they need some help without Dallas Goedert, but I do want to take away a positive here, which is they have not been in this position a whole lot where they're trailing a few minutes left in the game. The ball's in Jalen Hurts' hand. And I thought it was a good drive, an important drive. You saw the mix of run. You saw Jalen Hurts run a little bit, but that last play, Trey, break that down, because was that sort of a decoy with Kelsey sort of kicking out, pulling one way, and then Jalen Hurts going the other way, straight untouched for a touchdown?
No, I think that's exactly how it was called. It was, Jalen was supposed to follow him, but Jalen is a ball. He's a runner. So he sees, okay, I got the whole inside middle of the defense is not there. I'm just going to run right up the middle and go ahead and take this touchdown. But, naturally, he's supposed to follow Kelsey there. But the defense, they saw Kelsey pull, so they took off after Kelsey. Boom, go ahead and be a ball runner and cut it up in the middle of the field, and then there you go, touchdown.
Yeah. What did you think of that drive altogether? I mean, it seemed like for a day on which they struggled offensively, I thought it was a fairly well orchestrated drive.
Yeah, I thought it was a good drive. I mean, you come down there, of course, you were a little short. You ended up with the 4th and 2 or 4th and 1. You get down there. I'm not a big fan of the plays where it's like, all right, we're trying to call the defense, get the defense to jump, and then you call a timeout. It's kind of like, all right, they didn't jump. All right, have a play in mind.
Plus, they were in what looked like a victory formation instead of an I'm going to run a play formation. That
what was that?
Yards. That was strange.
It did look like it was a victory formation instead of it being like the quarterback sneak.
Yeah.
Formation. But their quarterback sneak formation kind of looks like that a little bit, where they have 2 guys next to Jalen and whatever. I don't know. But, to me, I'm not a big fan of those plays where you're trying to get the defense to jump. I mean, they get paid too. Okay, they didn't jump. Have a play in hand so that, you don't have to burn a timeout. But, hey, it ended up winning. Jalen goes heads. All right, he calls a pass play. Was that even a quarterback? Well, that was a quarterback draw.
Looks like a draw to me.
Yeah, it was a quarterback draw. Yeah. So, he goes ahead, does what he needs to do to get the first down. Then he takes it from there.
Adam, the big play on that drive, people probably have forgotten it by now, but we talked about it in the pregame show. It's not exactly how we imagine the whole throwing the ball to your running back with Dallas Goedert there, but all of a sudden, lo and behold, Miles Sanders just basically all by himself. That honestly was a testament to how good the protection was, because Jalen was like looking, and then somehow Miles Sanders shakes the defense, gets wide open, and then they have to tackle him before he burns him on a touchdown there.
Yeah, look, the protection was pristine, and this is what Mark Trestman, the former Bears head coach, told us in our Patreon Chalk Talk series. You better have someone when the clock runs down and the protection's not great. If your quarterback can't move, you're in trouble in today's NFL. You can't have these stationary quarterbacks. That's why a lot of teams are going away from those guys. And the thing I love about Hurts is he's so calm. He doesn't force the football. He then sees Sanders on a defensive back. It might have been Isaiah Rodgers, I forget, but or Faison, one of the two of them. But he saw him, and the DB just grabbed him because, as you said, he had no chance. He better grab him, and he did, and there you go. So look, that was obviously a huge play. And how about Boston Scott replacing Gainwell when it really mattered?
Again, we're in the whole. They just seemingly put Boston Scott in situations where we have no expectation of Boston Scott being
good too.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, and even in last week when we mentioned he gets the first carry, he got 5 yards on it. There's nothing wrong with it. It just seems like an odd time that they just decide to throw Boston Scott into the game. Let's discuss the concept here of life without Dallas Goedert a little bit, because it was no doubt some tough sledding offensively. In fact, I don't think, they got one catch from Jack Stoll in the game. So far below the normal production they get from a tight end. Nothing from Calcaterra, nothing from Tyree Jackson, who was active and did play. I think he contributed a penalty in the game.
Yeah.
So if I'm to look at the box score and try to make a conclusion, and you may have brought it up and hit the key point in the head, and I don't know that this is great for the long term, but in absence of Dallas Goedert's production, we saw Jalen Hurts outrush Jonathan Taylor, and we haven't been seeing Jalen Hurts run the ball a whole lot this year. But some of that was designed. Some he had that really nice scramble in the fourth quarter, but that seemed today to be the way to make up for the lack of Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, it's certainly part of it. When he didn't like what he saw over the middle, which is pretty much most of the game, they just didn't have it. Hurts ran, and he was dynamic, made some good moves, scored on the ground. By the way, the pass to seal the game to Watkins was fantastic.
Yes.
But you could see Watkins line up in the right slot and cross the field. Just a really good throw. Just hung in there. I just can't say enough about his toughness because they're very limited to what they can do. They don't have that physical presence anymore until Goedert comes back. Because Stoll's got to stay in line. They need someone to stay in line, and Calcaterra's not physically big enough. And Tyree Jackson is maybe big enough, but he's so inexperienced. And I don't know that I'd have to check the snaps. I don't know how much he even played in the second half, but they were heavy 3 wide, which we thought coming in. And they're just going to have to figure out a way going forward until Goedert gets back. And look, they'll take this tape, as coaches will tell you. You now have this tape without Goedert. You see what they're doing to you, and they're going to have to manage it.
Trey, it looked like the biggest impact to me of not Dallas Goedert was in the run and RPO game. If you take Jalen Hurts' rushing out of it, the running backs only ran 17 times for 55 yards. And I'm not really good at math, but I think that's somewhere in the 3 neighborhood, if that, maybe even 2. So it's not really good. And there were times where it looked like, and I'll defer to you on this, were the correct decisions being made on some RPOs? Because there were a whole lot of runs that just got stopped right in the back.
Yeah, some of them were, where he made the wrong read, where the defensive end came crashing and Jalen handled the ball off. But again, I mean, like the RPOs can be played, like you've seen that the RPO can be played if you have a backside linebacker that's disciplined, or if your defensive end can be a little bit more disciplined. But they'll get you every now and then. But we were able to hand off the ball a couple of times, and then they stuffed us. But I don't think our run game, some of the combination blocks weren't as clean as you needed it to be. It seems like we were getting pushed around a little bit up front, to be honest. I would like to have seen our guys make some of those combination blocks a little bit more physical and get up there to the linebacker, get up to the second level to create some holes a little bit more so our running backs could cut loose a little bit instead of having Jalen have to run so much. I don't want to see Jalen have to carry this ball 16 times. Right. That's 6. I don't need my quarterback toting the ball 16 times. I mean, that, to me, especially when you have Fields that's just getting carted off for Chicago, I don't need to see Jalen doing that because of so much what he means to this team.
Well, that was going to be my follow-up is if this is, at least for one game or more, if not more, the response to not having Dallas Goedert is that they have to run Jalen Hurts. Is that a good response? And it doesn't sound like you feel like it is, but where would you go? I mean, what do you do for more offensive production here if you're the Eagles? Because the RPO was the basis of your offense.
Well, it is going to be. I mean, Stoll is just going to have to get it done. I mean, because I mean that's all you can. That's all you have right now. Right. And if he's here for a reason, you didn't bring someone. You're not bringing someone into the NFL that's just not good. So let's give him a shot. See what he can do. I mean, he's made some plays before in the past couple games. Let's see what he can do.
Sure. Okay.
I don't think you avoid him.
Yeah. Did you feel like there would be? Both of you guys? Did you feel like Stoll would at least have a few more targets this game, or even the tight end production? They would try to work them in more. Adam.
Yeah, Calcaterra is the one I thought because he's so athletic.
Right.
The problem with Tyree Jackson, he hasn't played since last December, so you just don't know where he's at. He didn't have a preseason. Right. We know he bulked up. And look, it's only the first game. That's the thing. As Trey's saying, like Stoll's a little bit more athletic than he's been given credit for, but they need someone to be in line, and he's going to be that guy. So look, it's going to be a problem now that they'll take this tape, they'll see how the Colts were playing the middle of the field. Was it a factor where there were guys open, Hurts didn't throw it, or was it just covered? There was just nothing there. We'll see. We'll find out this week. To the edges, they hit some good balls. The passing game was very sporadic. It seemed like they were getting together, then they'd have a penalty. Then either the ball was dropped or it was deflected or was covered well. So, you take this tape and you go, okay, look, we were very lucky to win that game. They came back and won, as you were talking about. They never led until the end, minute 20 left. That's the only lead that they held.
Right.
And it looked real bad early. See, the defense holding them to some field goals, that was the game, because the Colts would march right down, and somehow Parks Frazier, their interim offense coordinator, would call some player like, wait, what? How did they do that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he called a great game, and to go away from Taylor early on when they marched down the field. As much as I like throwing the football, I just thought it was kind of weird because the Eagles had no answer for him, and then they went away from him.
Yeah. Let me let's put a bow here on the Eagles' offense. I also thought their offense, especially without Dallas, I thought maybe they would try something a little bit more motion, a little bit more ingenuity, something to kind of make up for what they do well. And I didn't really see it. Again, you won the game. That's all that matters. You've got another chance next week, and you're going to keep working on this thing. But Trey, I thought for a coaching staff this year, it's done a really good job with their play calling, with their sequencing, with their setting up plays later for what they're doing now. I don't know. It was lackluster to me.
Yeah, you saw. It seemed like they went into it like, all right, Dallas isn't going to be here, so we're going to have to go ahead, Jalen. We're going to have to lean on you a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to come with some of these quarterback powers. We're going to have a couple guys pulling. Where you're going to have both Kelsey or then Big Joy Mailata coming behind pulling, and then now it's going to be a quarterback draw or something like that. I don't know if that's a long-term win. Because it's just too many hits on the quarterback. I don't want to see 16 hits on the quarterback because he's not running out of bounds.
Right.
So, he's going to take a hit somewhere. So to me, I would just much rather it not be in that way.
Wasn't a big fan of that fourth down where he rolled all the way to the left and then tried to throw. I don't know what was going on there, like his thought process, but that was not pretty. That almost looked Carsonian Wentzian.
Yeah, I never like seeing quarterbacks run out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah,
because that sack is given to the offensive line regardless of whatever it is. So, that's a sack.
Yeah,
sack.
So you guys get blamed for that in the box score from the box score scouts.
From the box score. And people are like, oh no, that's on the quarterback. Nah, it's a sack.
Yeah.
Whatever, however you want to call it. But the run out of bounds. Like that, he was scrambling around trying to make a play. You got to get the ball out of your hands. And I know it's fourth down. You feel like, all right, I'm just going to try to go forward, do something. But the run out of bounds just was not right.
Well, is that the one where it would have been like a 57-yard field goal? So is that the one they had 39 in the?
I believe that was the case.
Yeah, and I was like, he could have punted. 4th and 10, it's such a low percentage play. I don't know what that was about. I also
don't know the thought. I was confused about the thought process from an analytic standpoint. Did they not trust Sipos to pin them down in a 10? Or, did you not think you could at least kick a long field goal from there? You're indoors. You have a kicker who's made a 63-yard field goal before. That was a little strange thought process. The last thing on offense, I want to go back to the fumble too. Clearly, we saw Miles Sanders had to block Ngakoue one-on-one, so you can look at the protection scheme and question that. Jalen, that was a play action. He kind of rolled out and was looking downfield. Is there at all anything that he could have done better on that play, Trey? Because in my mind, he got hit from the back. He's not expecting that to happen, but I don't know. He's got to also know that Miles Sanders is blocking Ngakoue.
Yeah, he has to let that go. You got to have that egg timer go off in your head where it's like, all right, I got to let that rip. You can't sit there and pat the ball and keep waiting for the receiver to get wide open. You got to let it go because, the running back is on the defensive end. But Jordan Mailata is supposed to loop back and help on that. You know what I'm saying? So he can't. If what's supposed to happen here is if there's a 3 technique on the guard, then he and the guard are supposed to collapse down on the right side, and then the guard is supposed to come back, and then Jordan should loop back to the defensive end to help the running back. But wherever the 3 technique was, I think he crossed the guard's face. And then Jordan just got lost in the shuffle, and then it was kind of like, oh, man, he was back in Australia somewhere chilling, you know what I'm saying? And then It was like, oh, I'm still in the game, and then boom, you got to get back to the running back. You have to get back to the running back to help him because you're leaving the running back on a defensive end.
Yeah.
And Miles Sanders can only do so much.
Right.
I mean, he gave it all he had. But
did.
I think that Jalen needs to, I think the only way that Jalen can help him is to get the ball out of your hands. But I also feel like Jordan Mailata needs to loop back and help the running back on that.
Got it. Good stuff there. All right, let's move on from the offense. We're going to talk about the Eagles' defense, which was way better this week than it was last week. First, we're going to take a quick break to hear from our friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schiller, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
All right, welcome back. Inside the Birds Postgame Live. Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan, and of course, Eagles Hall of Fame left tackle Trey Thomas. You just heard from our friends at Sky Motor Cars. Make sure if you go into Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, that you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You'll get a great deal. If not, visit them at SkyMotorCars.com. All right, I know you guys are very honest people. You're truth tellers, so you're not going to BS me. I know that all of you, like me, thought after the first drive of the game the Eagles were going to get their asses kicked, right? You had to have thought after Jonathan Taylor, what was it, 76 yards on the himself on the first drive, and they go and get the touchdown, that this was going to be a long night for the Eagles defense. Adam, I'm sure you thought that.
Oh no, what? No, I said this is not a good. This is a bad start. They better not have. I thought if they did this again in the second series, they would lose. I would say that, but they didn't because Parks Frazier again. I'm someone who really wants to throw the ball early, but because they ran all over the Eagles, he had Taylor ran for 7 yards a carry, including the short yardage carry, so he killed them. And the gaps are huge. That was the other thing is you and I watched the game together. And we're like, look at the cavern that he's got to run. Yeah. The run fits were poor. So why not keep taking charge of that, take advantage of it? Because at some point they're going to have to load the box, and then they drop the safety down there a little bit. But that's where Matt Ryan, as I was saying earlier, not being able to drive the football. There were guys open. The balls were short. They were skipping. They were thrown too low. A couple worm burners. He just can't drive the football. I mean, you got bailed out because of him. But in the end, look, they adjusted. They did a good job against the run over time. And I thought the rookie offense coordinator bailed the Eagles out a little bit. I thought they could have done a better job. Taylor, by the way, used to be a really effective pass catcher. They don't really throw the ball to him much anymore. And I just thought that the veteran staff the Eagles have kind of outclassed them as the game went along, and they found a way to win. But offensively, for the Colts, I just thought that Taylor should have gotten the ball way more. He did not. I mean, he had 22 carries. Remember, they were winning the whole game. They never trailed until minute 20 was left. And then for Pittman and Paris Campbell, you saw what it was going to be. It was going to be crossers. They got them on some of them. Pierce had a shot play down the I forget what sideline it was. He caught it, but he was out of bounds. But they kept the goalless defenses keep everybody in front of you. For the most part, they did that, and in the end, they were able to squeeze it. I give the defense credit for handling everything mentally. That first drive was so bad. There was absolutely no resistance. I'm like, what the hell?
Well, that's what, to your point, and Trey, I couldn't believe the second offensive possession for the Indianapolis Colts. They have just gone down the field and did to the Eagles what the Washington Commanders did, but not even as well as because Washington didn't get a run over 11 yards. And then they come out for their second possession and they go 3 straight passes. What a gift that was to the Eagles defense.
That was huge for them. I mean, especially when you go back and you look at that first drive. And I mean, 10 plays in the first drive, only 2 of them were passes. I mean, 8 runs right down your throat, including a quarterback sneak that looked iffy. But I mean, 8 plays, runs, taking it straight down to the house for a touchdown. I mean, that's not what you want to see. And then and then the Colts, they bail you out because they come back and throw 3 passes, a 3 and out. Thank you. We needed that because we can't, because our first series out, we went 5 plays and was out of there, so we needed that. And And then we finally started getting something going, but then we give up a sack. I mean, it was just a bunch of mess, man. I'm so glad we came out of this with this W. Oh my gosh, because this was tough. This was tough.
And I was thinking, I get the concept, right? I mean, I understand football. We all do it. After you run on a team like that and you see the Eagles getting bigger and putting the safety in the box, now you're trying to play action. That's what they were trying. They were trying to capitalize off their success. Yeah. But I don't know. They didn't look in the mirror. Are they good enough to pull that off? I mean, I think that they should have just – Washington knew that when it ran, it's going to run some more and going to run some more and only throw when it had to. The Colts tried to get a little bit more creative with that. They tried to take advantage of the matchups a little.
I would disagree in one way. What Washington did was on third down. Okay, did they have to? Yeah. But you noticed in the game last week, they kept getting areas in the Eagles zone that was not covered. They kept finding some hole in the Eagles zone defense last week.
Right, but that was almost exclusively third down. They had very few first down passes.
Well, I think they hit the McLaurin, if I'm not mistaken, on first down.
That might have been one. But I'm saying the Colts didn't wait that long even. I know they were trying to do that right after the
That was crazy. You're right. On the second series, that bothered me. I'm like, if you're running it down the Eagles' throats, why would you not mix a run in on the second series? They went three straight passes. That I totally agree with. In fact, you and I saw that. We looked at each other. What the hell are you doing?
It's so were both of you guys, Charles, start with you. Were you surprised to see Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh active and then already on the field, given that they were on the street for the first 10 weeks of the season and 2 days of practice?
Oh, yeah, I was very surprised that, hey, man, none of this, hey, let's get you acclimated. No. Hey, here's your pads, your jersey. You're playing. You know, like, hey, no, don't worry about it. I hope you've been working out, but you're going to play. And I can imagine you just go from, you just been chilling. You've been watching games. You're probably getting a little workout in, get a little cardio every now and then. And then, boom, you're right into a game. You're thinking you're going to get signed somewhere. And, hey, man, I probably played maybe, a couple snaps.
Yeah.
Just to get you in there. No, you're playing. You're getting the lion's share of plays and was very effective. For both of these guys to come out of there and have a sack in this game, I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah. Now, Jason Avant said on the pregame show, the one thing you worry about when you have guys signed off the street and playing like that is, are they going to hurt themselves? You see guys come out and pull hammies because they're just not well conditioned. So they made it through their first. I think they just made it past the first test simply by being able to play some snaps and not get hurt. But to add what they added was pretty good and probably a good sign going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it was definitely a good sign going forward. They'll get, it'll get back, as they continue to the more plays they get under their belt. Mm-hmm. They'll continue to get stronger. I think they were a huge help for this defense, to come in here and help stop the run is what they needed.
And you heard, Adam, you brought it up. Jonathan Gannon definitely did things differently in this game from a personnel standpoint, obviously, but also schematically. I noticed it too. I felt like he calls them known run and known pass down. You never really know because they could pull a play action on you, but you saw those linebackers getting whether they were sugar in the gaps or just getting their momentum going toward the line of scrimmage before the snap to give himself some extra, momentum.
Gardner Johnson run blitz. I didn't chart it, but it was so obvious what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
They got gashed in the first series. This would have been a blowout if they didn't adjust some stuff. As I said, Parks Frazier, the interim OC, the Colts helped him because he decided to throw 3 straight plays in the second series, which was beyond me. Okay, but they adjusted the second and third quarters, man. They did a really good job against the run. I was kind of surprised. I was waiting. I don't know about you guys, but we talked about this in a pregame show. I was waiting for that one big run where you go, see, you stop him, and then there he goes.
Yeah,
but they didn't do that. That was the key for them to stay in it. They didn't give up the major bad run.
In fact, I thought they were going to get that on that run that Jonathan Taylor had, where he was moving the pile and moving the pile and moving the pile. Then, bam, was it Marcus Epps that came in and yanked it away? Now, again, they wound up fumbling themselves, but that was critical. I thought the way they were able to get yet another takeaway and keep that Colts possession from getting extended, because it looks like they were trying to. I don't know. I felt like the Colts right there were starting to get their groove back with and how they were moving the football. Did you kind of guys get that same feeling like that turnover, even though they gave it right back, was sort of really important at that stage of the game?
I thought it was. I thought it was a pretty good, because you needed that, because it was getting some good push right there on that particular play. And yeah, Epps came in, got the fumble, and then TJ comes out of there with it. So that was a big boost. Now, normally, and I think the commentators even said that normally they call that play dead.
Right.
Once all of that happens, it's like, all right, boom, it's over with. But hey, it worked out in our favor, so I take it.
There you go. And then secondary to that, the pass rush was better today, a lot better. And was it Hassan Reddick? So Jonathan Taylor fumbles, then A.J. Brown fumbles, right? So then the Colts get the ball back. They got a chance there, I believe, then to go, if they score, it's 20-10. It's 13-10 at that point. All right. The Colts have the ball back. They score a touchdown, 20-10. It's looking pretty bleak there for the Eagles. They were held to a field goal because was it Brandon Graham who had the big third, or Reddick? One of those two had a nice third down sack there.
Huge sack on Ryman, I guess is the way you pronounce it. He shoved him back. That was an awesome sack. Got to tell.
Right. Was that Brandon Graham?
Yeah, yes. One sack. Yeah, BG. He took the tackle just back to the quarterback, and and then dissed him, got off of him, and got the sack. That was a beautiful sack by BG on that.
And Milton Williams had some big plays in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
He had a sack, and it was cool that Sue and Joseph had a combined sack, and they both got a half a sack as they met at the quarterback. That was kind of cool.
Right.
So you're right. Yeah, I thought they got pressure when they really needed to.
Hargrave got
feel pretty good about it. Mm-hmm. And they hit Ryan 8 times. And Ryan, by the way, helped that. He held the ball in.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing also that stood out that we talked about last week on the post-game show, we talked about on the pregame show on Sunday, and we talked about all week long. And that's the idea of your three techniques, Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave. They may not be the best run defenders in the world, but there's also no excuse for, having a double team ride you back 5 to 10 yards right out of your gap. There were plenty of times I thought Fletcher especially fought off a double team, stalemated it, got through it. I mean, he clearly can do it. This is why there have been times where the Eagles have been fine against the run despite their personnel deficiencies. Trey, I thought today was a day where Fletcher Cox decided to show up and play like a run defender and a pass defender.
Yeah, well, when you get fresh blood in, you have some new guys come in, you get Sue and them coming in, it's kind of like, all right, Fletcher, all right, you know what, hey, you can't let them outperform you now. Mm-hmm. These guys been on the streets.
Right.
They just been chilling. So you've been here for a while now. So I need, you need to turn your game up a little bit, especially when you're the hype guy, trying to get the defensive line all fired up, ready to go. All right, let's go. I need you to perform. And when Fletcher is ready to, this defensive line, I think they feed off of the energy that Fletcher brings to the table. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think, like, if he comes out there and plays flat, that defensive front usually is a little flat. Mm-hmm. But when he comes out there and he has that energy and he's playing like that, I think they feed off of that and they see him just because he's a leader within that group.
Yeah, absolutely. What did Jason Avant say in the pregame show, Adam? He said that the signings of those two guys, those two guys of that stature, the Pro Bowls, the Super Bowls, was sort of like, he said, a smack in the face of Fletcher Cox. I think he more meant not like disrespectful, but more like a smack to the face, like wake up. Because now we got some guys who come in here and do what you do too. Yeah.
I thought the same thing. It's not like he's going to lose his job or these other guys are going to take half the snaps. It's just like, look, yes, we know that they've had some injuries. They had to do something on the defensive line. Mm-hmm. But the tape was so bad last week. There's if you watch the All-22, folks, you'll see Cox get moved and stood up. Remember, the first game of the year against Detroit, the same thing happened. Mm-hmm. And it's the only game all year that I actually watched the game from beginning to end on tape because I'd heard about it. And people sent me time codes to see, okay, at this point, he gets stood up. He gets stood up here. He gets stood up here. And when you see it, you're like, wow, what has happened to him? Mm-hmm. I think it's what Cosell was talking about. Either accept the changes that you're given you can't play the same way you were playing in the wide nine. Mm-hmm. If you don't accept it, this is going to continue to happen. But okay, today was better. There are going to be games where they get gashed it'll be because he reverts back to playing the different technique. Right. Because in this technique, you have to take shorter steps, as we were told by a very strong source who looked at Eagles tape last week. He was trying to get upfield way too much. He was taking a really big first step. You can't do that against the run in the scheme.
Yeah, I guess the big question is, going forward, can he bring that same energy and bring that same discipline and technique? On Sunday night, the Eagles will welcome in the Green Bay Packers, that has not been a team that they have enjoyed playing, but either at home or on the road. But this is definitely a different Packers team. The Packers will have some extra rest. They played Thursday night, but they lost. They lost badly. They were not able to capitalize on the momentum that they got from winning the week before against, what was it, Dallas, right?
Yep.
So they lost to the Titans, who will be up next for the Eagles after Green Bay. A quick look ahead. And by the way, one really good byproduct from this win also, guys, is that the Eagles did not lose another player, because clearly their injury losses over the last 2 weeks have really hurt them and are changing what they're doing. But they came out of this game, as far as I know, I didn't see anybody who looked like they were going to be out because of anything that happened today in this game.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see on Wednesday. The first injury report is Wednesday, but yeah, we've had unfortunately, a couple instances where they don't report anyone hurt, and then the guy shows up in the injury report. I hate that. But you're right. Let's hope now, based on what happened. I don't remember. The Colts had a couple guys leave. I don't remember anyone for the Eagles leaving the game early.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't even remember any trips to the blue tent, to be honest with you. This is one of their, better health games in the last few weeks. Yeah. So that'll be key. Are the Packers still, to you, Trey, a team that they can bite you, or do you look at this Packers team and say they are not the Packers that we have seen in the past?
No, they're not the Packers of old, but I mean, this is still Aaron Rodgers, and you need to govern yourself accordingly. You go out there and just think that, and right now, I mean, are the Eagles in a position to just feel like, all right, you know what, hey, this is a team that we should just go out there and just dominate? I mean, you just lost to Washington and a backup quarterback. You just got in a dogfight. You found yourself in a dogfight with the Colts, with Jeff Saturday and the Colts. So I don't think you can go into any game right now just feeling like, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. All we got to do is wake up and put our jocks and pads on, and we'll come out of here with a win.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you need to make sure that you come in ready to go and govern yourself accordingly, because this is still Aaron Rodgers that will light you up if you come out there slipping.
Well, no doubt about it. And like we've said all show today, the Eagles won, but they've got a lot of work to do. Got to figure out what they're going to be doing offensively going forward, and much better by the defense. But every week will be a test to see, which run-stopping defense shows up. We'll have that continuously covered throughout the week. On Wednesday morning, we'll have the Inside the Birds film review podcast from this past game. Friday, we'll have Inside the Birds preview of Eagles Packers Sunday night at the Lincoln. Of course, the Inside the Birds pregame show on Sunday night will start at 5:00. Myself, Adam Caplan, Greg Cosell, Jason Avant. And then after the game, it's this crew right here. It'll be a week later from Trey's birthday. So we'll see if he gets rewarded. A little late birthday present next weekend might be good too. All right, for Trey Thomas and Adam Caplan, I'm Geoff Mosher. You've been watching Inside the Birds Postgame Live.